We had the best rusher in the draft.
The last time you had your second concussion, you talked about possibly thinking about retirement.
Yeah.
Is that something you thought about again since the third one, or?
Yeah, for sure. My daddy told me to retire, but I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do it. I just got to see how I feel this off season. I know going into next season, if I do come back and play again, if I get one more, I'll for sure probably retire if I get one more concussion. But hopefully, knock on wood, I don't get no more concussions. I don't have to deal with that anymore. But it was crazy though, just dealing with all those headaches all season. Like it's a painful, frustrating thing. Hopefully, I don't have to go through that again.
They were playing with their dudes, and he led us to 17 points in that game. So I do think there's something there. That is something we will evaluate. We got to make the decision. Okay, if Anthony doesn't get to where we think he can be, can Riley be the two?
Here, Indiana move. We from Indiana move. We from Indiana move. I'm an Indiana move.
Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. And he lost the ball. There's a fumble. Who's got it? The officials say the Colts do. Great team win, baby. Drops it way downfield, intercepted, coming forward and making the INT for the Colts in the back end. To see the Colts win Super Bowl. Hey, win on three. 1, 2, 3, win!
Welcome back to the channel. This is Marcus Sniffles, and today we're going to talk about Love, Charvarius Ward, and Chris Ballard. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Chris Ballard's press conference that he had last week. Obviously, he wasn't going to say anything like too interesting or that impactful. It was mostly the same kind of cliche stuff that you would get from a general manager at the end of another losing season, someone that's been here for going into his 10th year. One of the things that kind of piqued my interest is that he said that Carly Ursay-Gordon asked him, do you still have the juju, or do you still have the juice, or do you still have the fire to do this job? And obviously he's going to say yes and be like, yeah, this is something I want to do, whatever. My question, what did she see in you to have to ask that question? Like, you don't really ask people if they're into what they're doing if they don't kind of show that they're not into it, if that makes sense. It's almost like if you have, a kid that's playing a game and they have a sad face on, it's like, hey, are you enjoying this game? Or if you're out on a date and they're not really touching their food and they're not really eating it, it's like, okay, are you enjoying your food? Because it doesn't look like you are. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from her, looking at him doing the job that he's been doing for 10 years. And it's like, yeah, are we good to go? Like, are you locked in? And obviously he said he was. And going forward, it's one of those things where I don't want to say Chris Ballard is changing, but this past offseason, that wasn't the normal Chris Ballard that we normally see. Like, we normally don't see Chris Ballard go out there and sign Cam Bynum and Charvarius Ward, trade for Sauce Gardner, bring in so many different defensive players, Jermaine Pratt, bring in a $14 million quarterback in Daniel Jones. Like, Chris Ballard doesn't move around like that as a general manager. And for him to do that this past offseason, it's almost like, okay, maybe he's not going to sit on his hands as much as he did the first 9 years, and going into his 10th year, he's going to be different. But it's like, do you really, it's tough to believe that. You are what you consistently do. If you're someone that's consistent in being cheap, not really being aggressive in free agency, not really trading up for players, you have a certain style of player that you draft, one season isn't going to change the 9 seasons of who you've been the entire time you've been here. So I feel like ownership is betting on that. They're betting on him being a totally different GM going forward than what he's been for the past 9 years. And I kind of get it, because he was super aggressive this offseason. We were 8-2 at the beginning of the season. We had a lot of injuries and, players not playing well, but there was something that you could hold on to and that you could look at and say like, okay, these are the things that we can build on. These are the players that we can build around. And the one thing I did like about him being honest about the defense, because the offense, he was very proud of like the offense that he built, because he literally built that offense. Every player on the offense was drafted by him outside of Daniel Jones. So obviously he's going to be proud of what the offense accomplished because of how prolific they were for the first, half of the season. But on defense, he specifically said we have to get younger and faster. Younger, faster. And I can point exactly to what position group he's talking about, because if you look on, the back end at the secondary, Sauce Gardner, young, fast. Travarius Ward, not as young, still fast. Cam Bynum, Nick Cross, Mekhi Blackman, all the young corners that we have, young and fast. Defensive line, Latu, young and fast. That may be where the problem lies as far as us not being young and fast. And then you look at the linebacker position. I've been harping on this the entire season, that we have slow pass covering linebackers in Zaire Franklin and Jermaine Pratt. I personally would keep Jermaine Pratt and move on from Zaire Franklin and bring in an actual young, talented pass covering linebacker, whether it be Hunter Woolley from last year or bring in a free agent or draft another guy. But Chris Ballard was right. We do have to get younger and we do have to get faster on defense, because that's the way Lou Anarumo wants to coach the defense. He wants fast players. That's why Jalen Jones had a hard time getting on the field. That's why Juju Brents got cut. Like, he wants fast guys. And Zaire Franklin, I don't think he fits the defense. Kenny Moore, I don't think he fits the defense. Kwity Paye, I don't think he fits the defense. Like, I feel like this defense is going to get a massive overhaul going into next season. Outside of Sauce Gardner, Latu, Cam Bynum, Travarius Ward, I think every position is up for grabs going into the next season. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys something. About 90% of you guys that watch this video are not subscribed to the channel. Don't be a weirdo. Subscribe to the channel. Don't be part of the 90%. Be a part of the 10%. And let's get that 10% to 90%. So 90% of you guys that are watching are actually subscribed. That would help me out a lot. Cost you nothing. It's free and I'd appreciate it. And speaking of, when it comes to Travarius Ward, he has been a little bit more vocal about his offseason and what he's going to be doing. Now, he did say a few weeks ago that, like, okay, I'm going to come back. I'm excited to come back. But then at the end of the season, his tone changed a little bit, where it's like, hey, I'm going to talk to my family about this. My dad wants me to retire. I'm going to, have some sort of decision before the draft and all. Like, he wants to make a decision pretty soon. And I always feel like when players start talking about retirement, mentioning retirement, that it's most likely time to retire, especially someone like him who has never really dealt with concussions, but this year had 3 concussions in a very short span. Like, 1 concussion is way too many. 2 concussions in, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, terrible. Adding a 3rd one on top of that, and then talking about how he had concussion symptoms even while he wasn't playing, like just walking around with headaches all the time. And he's got, I believe he's married. He has a young kid. He has young kids. And it's like, when you think about, I looked a little bit into his history. Like, when you look at where he's come from and where he has gotten to, like, he was undrafted. He did not get drafted, was able to fight his way onto Kansas City's roster, became a starter in year 2, was on the Super Bowl winning team, got a big contract, went to the 49ers, did the same thing, went to a Super Bowl, made an all-pro team, and then he signed another big contract with us. And it's like, you've got your ring, you've been an all-pro, you were in a conversation for being one of the best at your position, you've made your money. Retirement is not a bad idea. It's really not. Like, I've been kind of on the record with, like, when players retire, either, quote unquote too early or whatever, I'm fine with that. Like, I had no problem with Andrew Luck retiring. I had no problem with Darius Leonard retiring. I'm not going to have a problem with Charvarius Ward retiring. And I'm kind of on the fence, like, to get to where he's gotten, there's a lot of fight in you. So I always assume, like, okay, well, he's going to continue to fight, and because you don't lose that mentality as an undrafted free agent to get where he's gotten and just kind of walk away from the game when you feel like you still can play. But when it comes to like brain injuries, and it's like, obviously we all love football. Obviously he loves football and all the things that come with that. But you can't replace your memories. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't get another brain. You can't replace your health. Like, once that stuff is gone, it's gone forever. So if he comes out and says, yeah, I'm retiring, I'm walking away from the game, I'm no problem. You will not hear me say any negative words about Charvarius Ward or his time here in Indianapolis. Like, he did a great job. The games that he played, I wish he would have played more. But if he decides to put his health before the team, that's what he should do. You got a family, you got kids, you got stuff that you need to take care of. If you feel like you made enough money and you feel like you can walk away from the game, then do it. More power to you. I will never say anything negative about any player that feels like they need to walk away from the game for their health reasons, mental health reasons, family reasons, whatever. Do what you got to do. You made it this far. If you have not liked the video at this point, what are you waiting for? Just like the video. Hit the like button right now. I'm talking to you. Make sure you like the video and subscribe and drop a comment. All that stuff. This is a threat. Not a threat, a warning. But it could be a threat. Just do it. Now, obviously right now, the playoffs are going on and the Colts are not in the playoffs. So it has been a bit of a stress-free viewing experience for myself watching these games, watching, the Rams, the 49ers, the Eagles, Bills, Jaguars, Chargers, Patriots. But there was one game that really kind of made me long for what it is that we're missing here in Indianapolis, and that was the Bears versus the Packers. And just watching Caleb Williams, watching Jordan Love make the plays, make the throws, the mobility, the athleticism, and just how they play out there. And it's just like, man, I want one of those. I want a quarterback with a strong arm. I want a quarterback that's mobile. I want a quarterback that can make plays, that's fast, that's big, that's durable, has a strong arm, can make any throw on the field. And I saw that watching Jordan Love, watching Caleb Williams. Like, watching Caleb Williams, you look at some of the plays that he made, I'm like, that's the first overall pick right there. That's the guy that goes number 1 overall in the draft. If you look at his fourth quarter numbers, he had like 200 total yards, 2 touchdowns, like 110 passer rating, and that offense scored 25 points in just the fourth quarter. That's insane. Like, that's a guy. That's a guy that you can build a franchise around. That's a guy that's going to be a Pro Bowler, be an All-Pro, be in the conversation for MVP, lead your team to the playoffs, win the division, maybe get to a Super Bowl. Like, that's the kind of player that he is. Jordan Love, the same thing. He's got the size, but he throws the ball super easy. Like, the ball just comes off of his hand and just goes 40 yards down the field, no problem. He's got the mobility. He's got the speed. He's got everything. And there's just times where it's just like, I'm going to say this. I love DeForest Buckner. I love that he is a Colt. I love what he has brought to this team, to this defense, to this organization, how he's somewhat tried to change the culture the same way that Quentin Nelson did on the offensive side. I believe DeForest Buckner is a Ring of Honor kind of player for this team. But there are moments where it's like, if we could go back to 2020, knowing what we know now, would we have given up that first round pick for DeForest Buckner when we could have drafted Jordan Love in that draft? Like, Jordan Love went in the late 20s and we had, I believe, the 14th or 15th overall pick that year. Like, that was the same offseason that we signed Phillip Rivers. And it's like, well, why would you sign Phillip Rivers and then draft a quarterback in the first round? Who does that? The Green Bay Packers literally did that. They had the MVP at quarterback and drafted a quarterback in the first round. So it's not like it's out of the ordinary for a team to do that, to have a young quarterback sit behind a veteran quarterback and kind of just, and that was also the same year we drafted Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman Jr. So you could have Jordan Love waiting in the wings behind Phillip Rivers to be the next guy within, I mean, Phillip only played for 1 year, but say we could have got him to stay for maybe 2 years or squeezed out a third year and then rolled into the Jordan Love era. Like, imagine where this team would be. Imagine where this franchise would be, how different things could be. And I know some people aren't super high on Jordan Love, but it's like that was the opportunity to make something happen, to make a franchise altering move that lasts for a decade, as opposed to bringing in like Phillip Rivers, which is more of a short-term plan. Like, Phillip Rivers was old back then. There was a reason why he was available. And it's like, okay, this is more of a 1 to 2 year deal, as opposed to you get Jordan Love. That has potential to be a 10-year deal. You can have 10 years of him in his prime and developing him and doing all the things that you need to do for a young quarterback, and hopefully grooming him to become a franchise quarterback. Sometimes I wonder about that. Like, I wonder what could have happened, what could have been. Like, would you trade DeForest Buckner for Jordan Love is essentially the question. And like I said, I love DeForest Buckner. I think he's been a great addition to this team and franchise and everything like that. But God, I miss having a quarterback that you could just rely on. Like a quarterback when it's 3rd and 7, you know that they can make a play. You know that they can make a throw. You know they can extend the play. They can move around in the pocket. They can step up into the throw, or they can throw off their back foot because their arm is strong enough to make those throws. And I desperately want that. And we probably won't have that for a little bit longer, because Chris Ballard in his post-game or post-season presser said that Daniel Jones is the short-term answer and the long-term answer. So obviously Daniel Jones will be returning as the Colts starting quarterback, and he's probably going to be our quarterback for at least the next 3 years. You know, we'll see how everything else pans out. We'll see what the contract looks like, what they do with Anthony Richardson, what they do with Riley Leonard, and if Shane and Chris Ballard are here going forward. So those are things that we have to look forward to in the offseason, but we'll talk about that when that time comes. But either way, appreciate you guys for watching. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button. Every Monday, 7 in the morning, we're here dropping videos, so make sure you turn those notifications on, and I'll see you on the next one. Go Colts.
Thanks for watching, babe. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
The Green Bay Packers, you can see when he throws the ball, it's so effortlessly. He throws it so effortlessly. He throws the ball effortlessly. Oh, I can't say the word.